He's the voiceover studio engineer of the Stars in Los Angeles, California, a Virginia Tech grad with a knowledge of recording studios unmatched in his field. He's a voice actor from Buffalo, New York, with 30 years experience in recording studios and behind the mic. He solves people's home voiceover studio problems in the blink of an eye. Together, there's no studio problem they can't solve, and they'll do it for you tonight. Welcome to East West Audio Body Shop. Now, live from a basement in Buffalo and an office in L.A., here are Dan Lenard and George Whittam.
Good evening. I'm Dan Lenard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we're East West Audio Body Shop. All right. We're here for another week. We showed up again. We weren't by last week because it was Easter and we figured we'd take a week off. And, the thing is this isn't a network show. We can pretty much do what we want, right?
We can do whatever we want. Nobody's paying us to do this. There's no sponsors. Well, we're trying to work on the sponsors, actually. But as for now, we really can take liberties. So we're going to do that from time to time. And it just makes you guys all miss us.
Yeah. We love the emails we're getting, but we want more emails. Remember, if you have a studio problem, a home voiceover studio problem, and you'd like to ask your question and be with us here on East West Audio Body Shop, all you have to do is email it to us at ewabsshop@gmail.com. And we'll probably answer your email anyway, but if we really like your question and we think it's going to work on our show, which we think it should, we'll get you on the air and we'll try and solve it.
And let me talk about a couple of new features we're starting to put together. So now we've got a podcast. So it's an audio podcast, and I could make a video podcast, but I think the audio podcast is more valuable. I don't know about you guys, but I love to, when I'm driving, plug my phone into the cassette adapter or your whatever Bluetooth you got, and listen to podcasts. So I figured, a lot of people would be able to enjoy our show now in podcast form and listen in at their leisure. So, now you can listen to it while you're driving and makes it a lot easier. You wouldn't want to watch
this while you were driving.
Please don't watch while driving. And so if you want to get hook into that podcast, there's a couple of different ways. We have a link to the podcasts from the Ewabs.com website, EWABS.com. We do have the podcast page where the podcast can be played back, downloaded, or you can go the slick modern route and use iTunes if you have any kind of iPhone, iPod, even BlackBerry, and I have an Android. All these phones will sync with iTunes now. Amazing. And you can just get it through iTunes. So if you go to iTunes and type in Ewabs and go to the iTunes store and type in Ewabs, you'll find our podcast feed, and you can subscribe there. Then it's automatic. It's a no-brainer. The thing will come to you every week automatically, and it's fun. It's cool.
You'll never miss us.
You'll never miss us.
We have a great show tonight because we're going to be covering the globe of ideas of home voiceover studios, and our special guest tonight is Dave Courvoisier, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with as one of the top bloggers in the voiceover industry.
Corvo.
I know. He talks about all sorts of cool stuff, and we'll talk about that, and maybe you'll learn a little bit more about how you can do more blogging and get involved in the social networks. But right now, it's time for our first caller. Good evening. Welcome to East West Audio Body Shop. Who's calling?
It's Chris from Yorkshire.
From Yorkshire, England?
Yes, Yorkshire in England.
Oh, my goodness. So how was the wedding?
Wedding was absolutely brilliant. Couldn't get moved in most of the streets, and I needed to get to work.
Yes. So is like the entire country total celebration? Is it as fabulous as they show on American TV? Or
yes.
I've talked to some people, and they're like, well, it's a wedding. It's a big party.
Yeah, I think that's what the British use it for. Just one huge party.
Yeah, any excuse to have a party. Anyway, you've called our show. What's your question?
My question is, setting up a basic recording studio, and wanted to know what the best type of sound card to go with is, if you had a preferred one at all.
Oh, okay. Well, are you PC or Mac?
I'm using a PC.
You're a PC person. Well, we won't hold it against you. We sort of preach against those on this show. And so if your PC, it gives you a few more choices, because just about everything will work with a PC except things that will only work with a Mac. So, but most of the major manufacturers that make sound cards, and I'm not talking internal sound cards. I really don't believe in the internal sound cards, unless you're using like an M-Audio Delta or one of those guys, which actually are a card that go in your computer. The thing that's really making our industry run right now are, of course, external sound cards. And you can use just about anything because they all essentially do the same thing. They take analog sound and they change it into digital sound and take the sound out and do the opposite and send it out to your speakers. Because once you install a sound card into your computer, an external one like an M-Audio or PreSonus or one of those guys, it also becomes your computer's sound card, and a much better sound card than your computer usually has. The sound card that's usually in a PC was initially designed for gaming and not really for digital, from analog conversion. I hear a lot of people who just take their microphone and go directly into the computer with their line in, and it's like, and they wonder why it sounds so muffled, or they can't get enough level out of it, and there's so much hiss, and that's why. So a good external sound card, and any manufacturer can get you going. But if you want a good one, there's a couple of good manufacturers. Of course, we always like using the MicPort Pro because it's so incredibly simple, and because it's not expensive. Also, some of the mid-range M-Audio products are pretty good. The PreSonus Audio Box a lot of people have been using. Now, this comes up all the time. Are you Windows 7, Vista, or XP?
XP.
You're XP. Well, that works to your advantage. That's pretty good, because that gives you, hopefully they've updated the drivers for a lot of these things, or they're backwards compatible. But any M-Audio sound card, or as we said, the MicPort Pro will just walk right in and work by itself, because they have these very special drivers in them that you just plug them in and the computer recognizes it. And so any one of those, PreSonus, the Audio Box, the Firebox, although we think the Firewire may be on its way out. We're not 100% sure of that, but USB is a lot more reliable. And you can't use Firewire with Skype. And some of the other manufacturers, Motu, some of the others that I can... Why can I never think of these, George? I can never figure out why it is that I can't remember all these names of all these sound cards. Yamaha and Tascam and a number of others all make them. And if you just go into a catalog, an audio catalog, you could usually pick one out. You don't want more than one or two channels, which is why I like the MicPort Pro. One channel. You're only recording one channel. What do you need all this other stuff for? And generally, and this is just my philosophy, George may argue with this a little bit, I don't believe in using an external preamp going into one of these things because they have their own built-in preamps. So does that help you out? I mean, as you're starting to set up, is that something that will help you in trying to find the best thing and avoid putting in a built-in sound card?
Oh, definitely.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks for calling, and hopefully things will work out this time for this particular couple.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right. Well, thanks for calling.
And thank you very much for all of your help.
All right. Well, talking to Great Britain now. Well, anyway, we're going to be back in just a minute, and we've got more callers. Dave Courvoisier is coming up in a little bit, and later on, of course, it's Bad Audio of the Week. So stay tuned for that. I'm Dan Lenard, and
George Whittam.
And we'll be right back after this.
VoiceOver Extra, the voiceover industry's online news, education, and resource center 24/7. Hundreds, probably thousands of free how-to articles for voiceover success, ranging from home studio to voice acting to business. A free voiceover industry directory, calendar of industry events, resource links, a store, and much more. Bi-monthly webinars on all topics of voiceover, free subscriptions to newsletters, reports, announcements, daily news, and features at voiceoverextra.com.
And welcome back to East West Audio Body Shop. And interesting, again, hearing about the wedding and all those things that were going on in England. And it was great of Chris to talk to us all the way from England. I have a sense that we probably have a worldwide reach, George.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm starting to be blown away with the coverage of the globe we're getting on this show.
I know. It's not like, we're not on NBC. We're on the World Wide Web. Whoever calls it that anymore, anyway.
I know, I missed that. We don't even say www anymore.
That's true. Well, it's time for our next caller. And good evening. Welcome to East West Audio Body Shop. Who's calling?
Hi, guys. This is Susanna, and I'm calling you from Christchurch in New Zealand.
Oh, come on.
Cow.
No, really, really, I promise. And if an earthquake happens during our call, that'll be very relevant because we've been through quite a lot of aftershocks recently.
Holy cow.
Really?
Well, we'll see who beats you to the punch. I'm here in LA, so.
Yeah. Now, you're okay. How did you fare in the earthquakes?
Pretty good. My voice booth stood up well. I lost power. The power went out in the first one we had, but it was up again by about 10 o'clock at night, so I got to record my work.
That's great.
Wow. That must have been really frightening.
Yeah, it's disturbing, but I have a few recorded earthquakes, and they look quite interesting as sound files.
Well, I'd love to see one.
I want to see those.
You got to send one of those. We'll use it on Bad Audio of the Week. That'd be great. Well, what can we help me with today?
Yeah, so my thing is, and this is sort of relevant from the earthquakes we've been having, is I really became determined to get my travel setup, my recording setup, together in a good way because after the earthquakes, I decided to go away for a break in a camper van. And I took with me my laptop and a little Samsung Go mic, which I plugged in, and I tried to sort of, insulate with kind of blankets and foam and stuff. And I can't say the quality was all that great of what I produced, but I did manage to do things like, I don't know, some little phone messages that I needed to do and a couple of auditions. But what I'd love your help with is I really want to get a very decent sounding setup for when I'm on the road. And, two things. One is your recommendations for a mic. I did try recently an Audio Technica USB mic, and it's pretty good in terms of the quality, but I find that the levels are very low.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, that's something you need to adjust, but I depend. Now, are you a Mac person?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
That simplifies things.
Yeah, that's something that's easy to fix.
Well, if the levels are low, then it could just simply be... Have you ever noticed that there's a volume slider in System Preferences?
Yep.
And you have it all the way up and it's still kind of low?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not good.
Yeah.
How low? Are you like minus 20, like that far away from peaking, or...?
No, probably not that low, but just in terms of like when I'm looking at my sound files compared with the ones I record in my studio, I look at it and I'm like, oh, and when I boost it up, of course, I get, some of the background sound coming up as well.
Right.
That's the critical thing with the USB mics is you've got to get a good input level on them. And you can get a great sound out of them, but if you're not getting the input that you need, that's something, you have to look at. It might be some other factor in there too. And
it could be my laptop actually, guys, because it's like I think I bought it in 2005, so I noticed that the sound levels on it, if I'm listening like through the speakers, are pretty low too.
Interesting.
Just and this may sound like a really silly question, but one problem with laptops is they have a built-in microphone, and it can be easy to accidentally record with the microphone in the laptop. Instead of the US, so you confirmed you're definitely recording with the USB.
I am. Right? I'm perfectly capable of making that mistake, but no, because in the Sound Studio software that I use, you always select which mic you're using.
That's good. Yeah, it's obvious, right?
Right.
Okay. Well,
right.
It could be also that
she's looking for the right mic for a remote set. Now, what kind of are you like in a van or in a car, or how are you setting up remotely?
Yeah, sometimes in a van if my place is being rocked by earthquakes, but otherwise, maybe in a hotel room or a house or something.
Mm-hmm.
What I did actually recently, I went away for a weekend and I took with me something called Nova Hush, which is kind of like a polyester acoustic soundproofing material. I'm not sure what the equivalent name would be in the States, but it's what I used to line my booth with. Actually, George knows this. George helped me out because I had originally, I think it was 10 millimeters. Everything's in millimeters here.
Sure.
And we discovered that it just was not. The sound was too echoey and boomy. And when I added another 25 millimeters, it made all the difference. So I had some leftover material of that. And rather than buying Harlan's porta booth, I thought I'd have a go and make myself kind of a box with that. So I did that. And yeah, I think it was fairly successful and collapsible.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'd love to get a sound sample of that sometime too, just to give a listen to see what kind of results. I mean, there's another alternative USB mic you could consider that is really similar to the Audio-Technica 2020, but it has more controls. It's called the Shure PG27 USB. Yes. And I think they are almost identical. I think they have the same capsule. I have compared recordings with both of them, and they sound, to my ears, the same. But the nice thing about the Shure is it has a gain control. So it actually lets you get more gain out of it. So you can really, you can get more control, more precision, and definitely get more gain out of that mic.
Okay.
And then, of course,
it about the same price point?
It's definitely more. It's around
a little more.
I'd say it's roughly double. Maybe it's about $200 US.
Okay. Yeah.
But still very, very affordable as studio mics go. And also, it has a headphone jack. So if you really do miss being able, if you do like to record with a headphone on at one ear or 2 ears,
yeah, I do.
Now you'll be able to do that again because you can plug the headphones in and it has zero latency monitoring, and so it kind of solves two problems.
Okay, and otherwise, is there maybe a portable preamp that could be used with the Audio-Technica one?
Well, which Audio-Technica do you have? Is it a USB or is it a...
Yes, USB, so it's not going to work, is it?
You can't really use a preamp with the USB. The preamp is in the microphone itself.
Right.
And a lot of people make that mistake, and they're like, they buy a USB mic, and then they buy a preamp, and they go, where do I plug it in?
Yeah.
Well, you don't.
It's kind of a one-shot deal there. So you might keep it as a spare or return it if possible or sell it on Craigslist, eBay, whatever you have. But the Shure will give you those extra features. But if you really want to have the flexibility of having a separate device from the microphone, then you're looking at something like a MicPort Pro from C-Entrance or an Apogee 1 from Apogee.
I have a MicPort Pro, which I use in my regular setup.
You could use the same device. And what kind of mic do you use in your home studio?
I use a Neumann TLM 103.
Okay. That I wouldn't recommend hauling around that much.
Yeah.
No, a bit delicate.
Yeah. Another possibility is maybe, of course, they're not cheap either, is perhaps a shotgun mic, which are, I know Harlan likes to really talk about those on the road, but you have to really know how to use it. I don't know. There probably aren't a lot of women that are using the it's like a Sennheiser 416 or something like that, but that will reject a lot of side noise.
Yeah.
And that might help too. That might be a possibility.
Speaking of Rode, I don't know about, I'm only going to assume, but maybe in New Zealand you get relatively decent pricing since Rode is built in Australia.
That's right, yeah.
And they make the NTG3.
Right.
That's their top-of-the-line shotgun, and it gets close to the 416, but it actually has a little bit more bottom end, which actually may end up being a really good thing for a female voice. So if you can get a chance to try one of those any place, that might be a really nice one to look at.
Yeah, one of the issues as well, and I think some of the other callers listeners can relate to this, is that, when you're away, you might have to do pickups on a project that you've recorded in your studio.
Exactly.
And so you need a mic that can match pretty well to what you regularly use.
You can only go so far matching the mics. The last 10% of it's going to be EQ. Mm-hmm. So we can do a lot with EQ in your software that you can run a filter that will help it match what you did in your home studio. We can get it pretty darn close with some EQ adjustments.
Right. And there's also some mic emulators, but we're not going there.
Right.
Anyway.
Okay. And
Suzanne, I'm glad you're surviving all the quakes there. Maybe it's time to head to the mainland or something like that, but you probably love it in New Zealand, right?
Yeah, it's got its beauty.
No,
it does. I can't wait to come down and visit and see that. I have a lot of people tell me about it. Well, thanks for being with us today on East West Audio Body Shop, and report back and tell us what you did.
Will do. Thanks for your help.
All righty. Thanks for joining us tonight. All the way from Christchurch, New Zealand. They're from everywhere. We've had Yorkshire. And now we're talking to somebody in New Zealand. Where else could we go? Well, I know where we're going next. We're going to Las Vegas. Yeah, but
Vegas, baby.
Vegas, baby. And what goes on there, unfortunately, is coming to us tonight. Our guest tonight is going to be Dave Courvoisier, who's a news anchor at the CBS affiliate there, and a great voice actor and an expert in blogging and social networking. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back here on East West Audio Body Shop. And we're back here on East West Audio Body Shop. And boy, what'd you think of that wedding on Friday? That was really something.
Yeah, I fell asleep halfway through the thing.
What are you doing up that early anyway? That's kind of silly.
Yeah,
well, it's great that we can go around the world with our show. We were talking with Chris earlier, who was in England. And now we're going to go more towards your side of the country because our special guest today is our good friend and great news anchor in Las Vegas, Nevada, Dave Courvoisier. Dave, good evening.
Good to be with you guys. I'm honored to be on your show. What is this now? Your fourth, fifth show, third? What is it?
Fifth show. Our fifth
Excellent
show.
Well, you guys are getting great cred. I mean, I'm hearing a lot about it. I see it a lot on Facebook. You're getting really good responses. Excellent.
Well, we're having a good time doing it, and how we do it, we're not quite sure. Somehow it just seems to go through the pipeline, and we get it done.
We do promise to do a behind the scenes or how we do it once we have an actual system that doesn't change every week.
Well, George, I know you're behind all that, and I think people would really love to hear how you put it all together. I mean, it's unique. No one else has quite done it this way, and I think people would love to hear how you did it. So, it's my 2 cents.
I'd be glad to, and my idol and the one that besides Click and Clack, the Car Talk guys who we definitely pay major homage to on the show. Definitely. And the naming of the show and everything. But the guy I really pay homage to is Leo Laporte, who's like the king of webcasting right now.
Got it down, no question.
And so he basically, I'm doing what he does with as little budget as humanly possible, and getting about 2/3 of the way there. So, but
well,
anyway.
you got me here on an afternoon in between two newscasts. I just finished my 5 o'clock newscast. I'm getting ready to do my 6 o'clock, and I've got a few minutes here to talk to you guys. So, what's your pleasure?
Well, you've been blogging for a long time. I think you're probably one of the leading bloggers in the voiceover forum business, which is actually quite fascinating. That this has grown up around our industry. I mean, aside the fact that our voiceover industry has grown on its own because of the internet, the blogging and the and the forums and all the stuff that goes on, it's absolutely amazing. Now, how did you really get involved in doing blogging and all the social?
I was reluctant. I was not one of the early bloggers. I didn't have time to read them, and I thought, well, I'm sure not going to have the time to write one. But I'm also in the information business, and I have been for decades. And it struck me that blogging would be easy for me. I love passing around information. I'm good at writing them. I understand how they should be written to garner attention. And I started diving in and learning along the way and finding that people were interested. People wanted to know things, and they liked my style of writing, and they liked my style of presentation. And it's just, you build it. You build it over years. And like you said, Dan, I have been at it now for, I think, about 3 years. I've had about 1,700 blogs written, and I learn a lot in the process. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, I guess that's really the point in our industry. There's a lot of people that want to know how to do things. And those of us who were in broadcasting, like you and I, and George has experience, in broadcast engineering, we know the basics of how to get all this stuff done. There's so many people coming into the business, and it's they're hungry for this knowledge that we've, probably combined spent about 100 years.
Yeah.
Well, there's no question. There's a hunger, but the thing is it's so easy to find it now. I mean, with the internet and all the social networking sites and all the knowledge resource sites that are available, it's a cinch to find what you want, what you need to know. I mean, you used to have to rely on phone calls or maybe telegraph to get answers. Now you can just do it on your own, and it's all available.
It's amazing. I mean, when I moved to Los Angeles, I wanted to do film production sound mixing, the boom operating and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And, I know a lot of technical things, but I didn't know anything about Hollywood. I didn't know the terminology. I didn't know anything about the unions. I had no clue. So, film mixing has its own terminology, its own tools. And I used the web. I used this amazing resource called Usenet, which is almost completely gone now.
You're right.
But it was called rec.arts.recording.movies.production.sound or something crazy. But it was a forum about production sound mixing. And if it wasn't for that, there's no way I could have possibly picked up what I picked up and learned what I did so quickly. Yep. I mean, I picked up years of experience, so to speak, from reading everybody's blog posts and answering or asking questions. So
well, and the other thing, guys, is that the blog has become the center of my social networking marketing program. I refer to and from my blog for everything. My blog points to my Facebook page. My Facebook page points back to my blog. I try to interconnect all those, so it seems like I'm everywhere. I'm not really, but I'm just cross-posting automatically. And it really does spread the message quickly. And Dan, you and George did a masterful job of telling everybody about Ewabs when you started getting it off the ground. It's a great way to get the word out.
Yeah, and it's mostly it's a lot of fun, which is great to be able to communicate with people. So what are some of the things that you've talked about lately on some of your blogs? I remember talking about equipment mostly.
I try to cover probably two main things. I cover a lot of social networking and marketing tips, but I'm a geek. I really am a geek at heart, and I don't understand it like George does, or maybe Dan like you do. I'm not so good on all the technical details, but I'm fascinated by the march of technology and the new stuff that comes around. I want to be the first on the block to get one. I'm just that way, and luckily I can afford a little bit of it. I was just blogging last night about the new Electro Voice RE320, which is a takeoff on the mainstay of almost every broadcast radio station is the EV20, and that kind of stuff. I'm drawn to it. So I blog about social networking and secondarily about equipment and about technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what's been the most fascinating piece you've found in the last year or so? Something that really stimulated your interest, that made you really think a while about what you were going to write about it?
Well, the thing that I'm most fascinated in, and I find that a lot of readers want to know more about, is how to set up a mobile recording studio with either your iPhone, your smartphone, or your iPad. It's gotten a huge amount of response. George has been onto it. I know, Dan, you dabble in the iPad, and people want to know, how can I get a quality recording out of this nimble, easy to pack away device? And it's not quite there yet, but it's so close. It really is close.
Yeah,
so close.
Yeah, it's really a matter of it's not the device so much that we're finding. It's really the acoustical environment that you're in. And as the microphones get better, if you can find a Mercedes-Benz to hang out in and record it, it really is going to be very, very easy.
Yeah, it is close.
Yeah. So what are you working on this week? What's hitting your fancy?
Honestly, I don't often plan that many days ahead with my articles. I see what's on the forums. I see what's hot that day, and when I sit down at home after my TV job, I go home and I kind of take an assessment of what's out there, and I look for a little inspiration from that, and I just write about it. It's really off the cuff. It's hopefully timely, but I kind of react to what's going on that day.
Have you had any interesting voice work lately?
I'm busy. I wish I could say a lot of it is TV and radio ads, which of course what everybody aspires to, but it's mostly audiobooks and e-learning, and I'm busy every night with it. So, and that's where I wanted my work to be. That's what everybody aspires to.
What are some of the particulars about doing audiobooks versus all the other disciplines? Because I'm getting more and more people asking me about audiobook work. I know I got invited to be on a panel in New York in May, which I can't do, but about audiobooks, and it has a lot of its own requirements. What are a couple of the top ones that you really have to look out for?
Well, you have to first of all like long format narrations, and a lot of people aren't cut out for it. I know several people who do well in voiceover work say they cannot do long format to save their life. They just don't like it. Yeah. So you got to be able to do long format, and you have to have a very consistent sound. You got to be able to step in front of the mic no matter what time of day, finish the next chapter, and make it sound like the chapter before it and the chapter after it. And the other thing I think that audiobooks demand of you as a voice actor is that you do more acting. You have to really step outside of yourself and create characters, and you got to do it with your voice. It's very challenging, and I love it. I'm finding a lot of fun. I wish it paid better. It doesn't pay great, but it's consistent, and I'm really enjoying. I'm having the time of my life with it. It's really enjoyable.
I find that the irony of voiceover or doing audiobooks is the requirements, the production quality requirements are pretty high, aren't they? I mean, it has to be very quiet.
They are, and each publisher has their own kind of setup. They'll send you their technical standards, and each one has a little bit different. But if they require you to do all the editing, and a lot of them do, then you're right. You've got to be consistently good, and your sound has to be of a high quality. It's got to be good, and luckily I've been able to meet their demands so far, thanks to everything I've learned from Dan and George Whittam.
Well, I know in LA, I don't think if
we know you've got stories to do, and you got to get back on the air. We really appreciate you coming on with us tonight.
You guys are the greatest. I'm honored to be on your show, and you're just doing a bang-up job. I'm so proud of both you guys, and just best of luck with it. Have a good show.
Thanks. I got to slip one last one in there, Dave.
Okay.
When are you going to get a Mac?
Oh, you're killing me, buddy. You're killing me. Well, I kind of do. I have an iPad, okay, and I got an iPhone, so that's probably about as close as I'm going to get. But thanks for asking. We'll talk to you guys
Dave.
later.
Take care, man.
Break a leg.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye.
Dave Courvoisier, there's nobody better in the business than Dave. He's really something else.
He is, man. I mean, he's so dialed in. Like, it's not enough that he's on live television pretty much every single day.
Right.
Which means you really have to have it together. I mean, live is live.
And our top story tonight.
Yeah. I mean, not only that, but then he still manages to find time to keep up this amazing blog regimen going and always stay topical. He's always on the edge of what's going on out there. And like he said, that ability to syndicate everything you're doing across all the social networks,
right,
so that it really looks like you're everywhere without having to be everywhere, is huge. I mean, I picked up one great tool from a podcast that he and here's a point for an edit right here as I try to remember the guy's name. Terry. He and Terry Daniel did a podcast about social networking, and the one tool that really stood out for me was this thing called Amplify. And what it does is it's a syndicator where you post something on Amplify. It could be a blog post, microblog. It could be just a link to something you saw. Right. And what it does, though, is it throws it up on every social networking tool that you have. Twitter, Facebook. If you have multiple Facebook accounts, it goes to all of them. It'll go to your blog and everywhere. So I've been using that more and more now. I try to, when I have something that comes up that I want a lot of people to know about, I try to remember to use Amplify to do it because of that ability to go everywhere.
Yep. All right. Well, we've got another caller coming up in just a couple of minutes, and then we've got really bad audio. So stay tuned to East West Audio Body Shop. We'll be right back. In the modern world of voiceover, whether you've got years of experience or you're a newbie, having a home studio is essential. A home studio is a unique environment. Every voice is different. Every room is different. Advice from friends is great, but you need someone with the experience of setting up hundreds of home voiceover studios. I'm Dan Lenard, the home studio master. Let me show you the best place in your home to set up, the right equipment, and how to properly use recording software. Plus, I troubleshoot your home studio nightmares. Wherever in the world you are, having a home studio is essential, but that doesn't mean you have to be a recording engineer. Let me show you how easy it is. Go to homestudiomaster.com or email me at homestudiomaster@verizon.net. I guarantee results. And welcome back to East West Audio Body Shop. Dan Lenard here in Buffalo and out in Santa Monica, California. George, you're still out there, right?
Still here, everybody.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. But it's time for another caller, and let's see who's on. Good evening. Welcome to East West Audio Body Shop. Who's calling?
Hello. It's Paul from Pennsylvania here. I'm from Eastern Pennsylvania.
I didn't realize that Pennsylvania was all caves or anything like that.
There's a lot of caves, actually, in Pennsylvania.
I'm actually talking to you from my man cave here, and that's one of the things I need to talk about today. And that's the reason why I called is I've been building my own voiceover booth for over the past 6 weeks, and it's really great.
Sounds like you better start over, actually.
Yeah, there's a slight error in there, Paul, but
sorry, Paul, go ahead.
Believe it or not, it does work well because I can't hear my neighbor mowing his lawn anymore. But I am afraid that I've created sort of a monster because, as you can obviously hear, it sounds like I'm talking to you from my bathroom. There's so much resonance. So obviously this room needs some treatment, but I don't really know where to start. How do you really know what you need, how much you need? Do I need someone to come to my place and check it out, or could you give me some help from a distance?
Well, you have lots of options there. I'll go first on this one, George.
Sure.
You have lots of options. First, you have to dampen the walls because you've got a large. How big is a booth are you building?
I'm basically in a cube. It's 7 by 7 by 7 feet.
Okay, well that's a good size, and that's going to give you lots of room to dissipate certain frequencies, but it'll also create some other problems, which George will describe.
Wow, 7 by 7 by 7, huh?
Yeah.
Holy cow!
What's that?
Those dimensions are a nightmare for acoustics.
Yeah, really. But the first thing you need to do is, one of the things I like to try and do is experiment. And first, you want to try some things that are not expensive. Like blankets, those moving blankets. A lot of people are doing that with their studios. They're getting heavy duty moving blankets, and they're tacking them up on the walls and seeing how much that dampens it. And if that does it, then you can go to more sophisticated materials because that actually is dampening it, and that usually helps. What was your plan for putting in there? Did you have any ideas?
I was thinking of putting some foam, some Orlex type of foam, and some bass tracks. Now I know there's all kinds of foam for sale online, offline, and I was wondered about that. Is all foam created equal? Do I need to pay a premium price to get premium foam? And if these moving blankets would do it, would I need something like bass traps anyway?
I'll field that one, I guess.
Go for it.
Moving blankets can take you pretty far. They do a pretty good job of absorbing mid to high frequency. So, mid-range treble up above there does a pretty good job. What'll happen is if you take a room like that and use only blankets, you're reducing the mid to high-end frequency stuff, the tweets and the treble and stuff, and leaving all the low-frequency stuff untouched. So what would you think would happen if you took away all the other stuff? What would be the net result?
I don't think I would sound like myself. and it would be very. I would maybe not sound very deep, coming from a very deep cave.
Well, it would certainly kind of change the tone. The room's tone will change drastically.
Yeah,
so
the
what will
echo
happen
will be
is,
gone.
yeah, the main majority of the echo you're hearing will go away. What will be left will be just this low frequency resonance, this ringing, resonant, boomy sound, and it will sound very muddy. Some might say it sounds boxy, like you're in a closet, whatever. So that's where the bass trapping then comes in. So you need to have that other material that's denser and much, much thicker to deal with the low frequency stuff that's left over. I do have an opinion about this, and I have dealt with a lot of different techniques, and I'm always trying to find the most cost-effective solution for a problem that also is not too environmentally caustic, with a lot of fumes and stink, and also looks kind of good. And what I've found in my experience, and I've now used this product on many jobs, is a product from ATS Acoustics. And it's basically acoustical panels made out of mineral wool. And it's like a condensed or dense fiberglass type material. It's just not fiberglass, so it's not bonded together with glues that have formaldehyde and stuff. It's a little bit different. So it has less nasties in it. It certainly doesn't smell nearly as bad as most acoustical foam does. And you get a lot of performance out of this material. So you don't need as much coverage as you would foam. If you used, say, 2-inch corrugated foam from Oralex or almost anybody else, you'd pretty much have to cover that place from floor to ceiling, the entire ceiling, almost everything except the floor, and then carpet the floor to get a decent sound out of it. However, with these panels, you might need to get about a 60% coverage.
Right.
So you need less material.
Right. And the other thing is a lot of those problems really get created by people talking too loud. That if you're just in a normal conversation and not really projecting a lot, that also reduces a lot of the resonance problems I've discovered. Some people just over pushing it a little bit.
That's absolutely true. I mean, I always have to listen to someone actually perform. They'll say, okay, hey George, here's a sound file, me talking, and I always have to tell them, no, give me a read. Because everybody performs most of the time people perform at a totally different volume.
You've noticed
that they speak at. Yeah. Sometimes it's much louder. Sometimes it's much softer. And so if you're a softer reed, there's less energy in the sound, so it excites the room less. So you get less echo, less bounce, less problems. The flip of the coin is the quieter you speak, the more noise floor gets into the recording because you have to have more gain. So it's a real balancing act there. But assuming your booth is pretty well airtight and it's pretty quiet inside, once you get the acoustics dialed in, you should be able to do a really nice, intimate, and soft read, or even a more aggressive read without too much adverse effects from the acoustics in the room.
Yeah.
Now, the ATS panels, the mineral wool panels that you were talking about earlier, are they instead of the bass traps or in addition to the bass traps?
They actually are kind of a double duty type product. Because of their thickness and density, they actually do help considerably with bass control as well. They have a 2-inch thick panel and a 4-inch thick panel. And the general rule is the thicker the material, the better it does at bass frequency range. So if your booth is large enough and you have enough elbow room, and if it was 7x7, you certainly would.
Yeah, really.
You'd want to invest in mostly the 4-inch panels. You would even want to suspend a couple overhead, making what's called a cloud, where they hang directly over your head to keep the bounce off the ceiling.
Just don't stand up too fast.
Yeah. If you hang them if you have 4-inch panels hanging off the ceiling with a gap up there that creates even more of a bass trap, they're really effective. And then you won't need to buy you probably won't end up needing to buy standalone specific bass trap materials, because these things it's what they call a broadband absorber, because it does such a good job over such a wide range. So,
could I build them myself as well? Is it worthwhile doing? Because it could be time consuming too.
Yeah. do you like to build stuff? Let me ask you that. I mean, do you have a shop, a space to do it? Do you have a cut-off saw? Do you have time? Do you have access to the materials? If you say yes to all those questions, then yeah, you can build these. And it could be fun, especially maybe if you have a teenage son or some kids that want to help. It could be fun. But I have found that by the time you buy all these materials and find the time to do it, it will actually end up costing you more, especially considering your time, than buying them from ATS. That's why I've stopped building them. I just can't build them for cheaper than I can buy them for anymore. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah.
Now, I have one follow-up question. What is in your experience, the best and easiest way to put those things on the wall? Do you glue them? Do you nail them to the wall?
It depends on the application and what material you're using.
Yeah, if it's the panels I'm talking about, they come with their own hardware that screws to the wall.
And what about the foam?
The foam. I actually have a can of that right here.
Horrible stuff.
You use foam tack.
Ugh.
I use foam tack, and it's a dessert wax.
It works, but man, does it stink.
It's a floor wax and a dessert topping. Yeah, it's called foam tack, and it's probably backwards too. But
yeah, it works.
And that's it's made by Orlex, and it's like it's a spray-on adhesive, and that works really, really well.
It works well, but spray it and then leave the room for a week with the doors open and let a fan blow out the smoke.
I love the fumes. It's like anyway, Paul, thanks for being on with us this week.
Hey, you're very, very welcome. Perhaps you should come back and once this room is fully treated, maybe we can do a before and after.
That would be an excellent idea.
That would be great. We'd love to have you on to give us the after.
Terrific. Thank you so much for your advice. I enjoy your show, and keep it up.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. Take it easy.
All right. Well, we've reached that point in our show that everybody waits for.
Is this thing on?
And now it's time for another exciting episode of Dad Audio of the Week.
Now, this one was sent in by a listener, somebody who apparently was about, I guess, 6 years ago. So I'm figuring this person still isn't in the business unless they've learned a lot since then, in which case they're going to go, I've gotten a lot better. You're not going to believe this one. This one's a real crowd pleaser.
My name is Kathy. Eczema made my 8-year-old miserable. Nothing we tried before helped. Zima quickly eliminated the red scaly patches on her arms and legs. Her confidence is back.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay.
I don't know.
Where should we start?
What's that?
Do we want to say anything about it? I mean, does it stand on its own?
It really does. I mean, that's somebody just not using a pop screen and not using
the meters.
We don't want to judge on their talent or anything like that.
No,
but
it's not about the talent in this case. Yeah, it's about not knowing the details about recording. And in this case, popping the mic, which I'm popping the mic. I'm
popping my mic too.
It's popping the mic, and it's over modulating or distorting. So those are things that could be easily fixed with a little bit of help.
Right, and that's why we're here. And we will be back next week with another great show, and we're glad that you're with us. Tell your friends. If you have a question for us and would like to be on the show, you can mail us or mail us, depending. You can mail us too. That would work very well.
It works for food.
Email us at ewabshop@gmail.com. See, I remembered that this week, okay? Ewabshop, EWABSHOP@gmail.com. And if we pick your question to be on, we will give you, either one of us will give you a 20% discount on a consultation, a half-hour consultation to help you with your home studio issues. So a little motivation for you there.
Yes.
All right. Anyway, that's all for this week. I'm Dan Lenard in the East.
I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we're
East-West Audio Body Shop.
We'll see you next week.
Take care, everybody.